absolutely right to have the Blue Crew lead that chant. Shout out Blue Crew, and all the fans are amazing all year.
Let's go, Casey!
Forward to Izzy Rodriguez. Now back to Luetta. Crossing midfield again, playing a long ball forward. What a great ball to Debinha in space. Debinha now into the box. One defender is there. Debinha onto her right foot. Debinha shoots and scores! What a goal. It's 4-2 Kansas City. Official attendance 15,671, a new record crowd here for the Kansas City Current.
That's incredible!
And more than 4,000 fans more than will fit in the new stadium next year. Unbelievable.
15,000, baby!
That's a team dub right there. That's what I'm talking about. We would not be where we are without you guys. You are the root of this team. You guys are always going to be here. Players are going to come in and out. But we're here for you guys. And one last time, can we get a KC baby on 3? 1, 2, 3. KC
One chapter closes and another one all their own opens up here at CPKC Stadium, built along the historic Berkeley Riverfront.
And building this one-of-a-kind stadium was no small feat, but like so many moves in this team's history, it was led by the accomplishments of women. In what was a shadow of the city, a drive-by, notice nothing lot, there are men and women at work.
Cassie Morrison.
Caitlin Depenning.
I'm Courtney Kunkel.
These three builders, boots on the ground, are literally laying the ground for the future.
This is the first stadium built for any women's professional team of any sport in the world.
CPKC Stadium, the new home of the Kansas City Current soccer team. Not just breaking ground, but shattering ceilings in the heart of Kansas City, Missouri.
I actually think it's much bigger than sports. I think what this stadium represents for women is, for all women in all industries, is it really finally raising the bar to say women deserve exactly what men have.
This pioneering pitch sits on a river, symbolic of the stadium's significance. Steady, strong, and current, if not overdue.
It's exciting. It's groundbreaking. It's what women deserve, and it's finally our time. It's past time. It is. It's something we've deserved or women have deserved for a long time, and so it's exciting to know that someone's finally taking that step forward and making that statement and doing the right thing.
The new stadium, a hurdle, but not the first for these women, wearing hard hats in an industry where it can be hard to be female.
I actually have an architecture degree, so I thought I wanted to be an architect, but pretty quickly realized I actually lived overseas my senior year of college and then after college, and pretty quickly realized I probably should have been an engineer.
Uncertain about what she'd do, Courtney Kunkel met a friend with an idea. Change course.
It was late 90s, market was booming. I could have worked at any architecture firm just because they needed people. But he introduced me to a construction company, and interestingly enough, it was a woman-owned construction company.
Still, few women were builders.
I probably initially, tried to be rougher and harder, and because I felt like that's what I needed to do to fit in. And when I would go on job sites, they just assume I was the architect or, the interior designer. It was a risk for them. It was a gamble for me to see if that would work out, but they hired me for very little salary, so it was a cheap risk. But we both agreed that after 3 to 6 months, if it was a click, then it would work. Then I could get maybe a better salary.
It clicked. Now Kunkel owns her own construction company, Monarch Build.
I didn't ever really feel like a trailblazer, to be honest. I really felt like I really wanted to blend in. You know, I mean, initially my thought was, okay, I just need to be like them. I need to be like the guys. Eventually, and through my career, I realized, no, my superpower was that I was a woman, that I was different, and that I brought a different perspective to the table than the men did. And so I started wearing hot pink or bright green or whatever, and, you know, being bold and just saying, here I am, like, take it or leave it.
They are. Can't remember here, but like the...
About a decade after Kunkel,
I went to school for architectural engineering. I graduated KU in 2008.
Caitlin DePenning says as a female, she wasn't outnumbered in college.
I don't think I ever thought I couldn't do it. I think I was fortunate in college that the architectural engineering program, probably more so than others, had probably about half and half female to male ratio.
On the job, not so much.
My first job out of school was at a firm where I was more like a construction manager, and like always the only female in the room. Just kind of had to like figure out as a 23-year-old female on a job site like how to carry yourself so you're like actually heard. 5'6", Northwest restroom since you didn't get it.
As Henderson Engineers project manager for the stadium build, to this day, she makes sure her voice is heard. Just 2 weeks after giving birth to twins, she was at a very important meeting about a new history-making stadium project.
When I heard that there was a meeting and I was at least given the courtesy to know it was happening, even though I was on maternity leave, I didn't take offense. I wanted to be there. It's not the first time a stadium's built, but the reason that it's being built is unique, and that's what really makes it exciting and motivated to not only do our best like we would always, but to like put a little extra into it. The passion that I have as a person that cares about sports, especially soccer, and with my family, just adds to that.
A soccer family, Caitlin's wife is a high school soccer coach. They hope their 3 children will grow up in a world where gender is not a barrier and not a factor at all.
They have 2 moms. Like, it's just like, what do you want to be? Like, who is it that you like, who you are? And it's not, oh, you're a boy, you need to do this, or you're a girl, you need to do this. And if anything, like, we're showing that in our way. Like, we're doing things that maybe is male dominated, but it's not about gender. It's about what you're passionate about or what you're qualified for, and they see that every day.
I graduated from Kansas State University with a degree in construction science and management.
Building is in Cassie Morrison's bones.
Yes, bleed blue. Growing up with my dad, he would take us to different sites.
Her dad and her mom worked for J.E. Dunn. Dad is a builder, mom a secretary. Morrison considered a career in cosmetology, but construction and that pedigree ultimately won. Her role, project manager.
We write contracts, price it all out, give budget updates to the owner.
And this place, Morrison says, is just where she fits, along with more women, she hopes.
We make a big push within the construction business to include women. I mean, the perspectives are there that help drive, and men are starting to understand that that other perspective is important to have within a team in our business.
Not at all unlike the team for which this stadium she has a big part in building stands.
If somebody would have asked me about that being in Kansas City 5 years ago, maybe I would have said, it's a possibility, but I would not have said, yeah, that's gonna happen, or somebody should make that happen, and the Longs and the Mahomes have made it happen, and it's so cool.
Staking a claim to connecting the current with the future, not just of women's sports, but women.
We want to be treated equally. I mean, we shouldn't want special treatment. We should want the same treatment.
A picture-perfect scene rises over CPKC Stadium.
I'm so excited.
These fans aren't missing a moment.
I couldn't sleep last night.
Feeling real good.
I'm trying not to cry.
I'm gonna see the girls play soccer.
Next on KMBC 9 Chronicle, we skip to the front of the line.
Well, we're gonna have a great crowd.
While a group of trailblazers waits in the wings. They're known as the 85ers. See their moment in the spotlight decades past due.